So let's go ahead and give everybody a minute to come on in here. And super excited to get this kicked off. For many of you on this call, you know I am Mark Neuterman with the Real Estate Referral, and super excited to have two of my nearest and dearest friends. But I'm going to let them share a little bit more about themselves, Michael and Nicole Wilhelm. So let's just go ahead and kind of get this kicked off right now and get this started. So first and foremost, would love for you two to introduce yourselves in terms of where are you located?
Why don't you start us off, Nicole? Where are we?
We are in the San Francisco Bay Area. For those of you who are unfamiliar, if you know the East Coast well, we are like the Brooklyn of the West Coast. So if you know Manhattan and then you know Brooklyn, that's how it is. So San Francisco is normally where people know. We're on the other side of the bridge. In particular, we're in the Oakland, Piedmont, Berkeley area.
Okay, so that's not San Francisco proper. I know a lot of people outside of San Francisco Bay Area, they get a little bit confused. They don't realize geography wise. So not San Francisco proper, but the East Bay, Oakland, Berkeley, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, love it. So, one of the coolest things about today is that you two are a husband-wife team. So we're going to talk a lot about not just referrals and business and real estate, but also how you juggle a lot of these different things. So first and foremost, how long have you two been married?
That's a great question. So,
How long have we been
Oh
married, or how
boy,
long
here
does
we
it
go.
feel? Just kidding.
so we are on a husband and wife team, but if you ask Nicole, she'll say we're on a wife and husband team. So it just depends on who you have the conversation with. But we've been together, been married. Can you believe it? I was thinking about this. We've been married. It'll be 10 years in December, but we've
Wow.
been together for 19. So, we've been inseparable ever since. I would say we've been married for the last 19 years.
Yeah, I don't count when we've been married. I count
Yes, you
from the
do.
start.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, you're right.
You don't
I
need to
will
count from
start.
the start. Yeah,
Exactly.
when we started escrow.
When when escrow starts, there you go.
So how did you two meet?
That's a great question. I used to be an avid poker
He
player,
was a
and
professional poker player.
Oh, wow.
Texas Hold'em was my game of choice, and Nicole so happened to work at a casino, and we, met, we connected. I played my cards right, so to speak, and just I slow played it. And I think for her, she was one
So
that
slow that I was like, "Are you blind? Are you gay? Are you married? Are you with somebody? Can you see all of this? Do you not? Do you not see how we go together?"
and I set the trap and it worked perfectly. And we've been together ever since. So
That's
we met at a
amazing.
casino, yeah, 19 years ago.
And your parents?
Ooh.
Yes, well, people know, some people know me as Michael, other people know me as Olivia's dad. So, in her school, we have a 7-year-old and we have a 15-month-old now. So our little Kingston, aka King.
Wow, absolutely. What a blessing. All right, so let's dig in a little bit more now on the real estate side of things. So overall in the industry, how long have you two been in real estate? And did one of you start and bring the other in? So 19 years together, 10 years married, but was it, both of you kind of jumped in at the same time? Tell us about what your business, how it started out.
So we were both in tech. I was working in tech sales, Nicole's working in marketing, and we both are just unhappy with our jobs, and just, we were realizing we were clocking in, doing just enough to not get fired, but it was just we weren't happy at that time. And so I made the first leap and said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and work for myself. So I became an Uber driver, driving Uber and Lyft on the side, and then supplementing our income with playing poker. And then Nicole decided, you know what, I'm going to get my real estate license, and had this idea of creating this team together. And I said, okay, you know what, well, I'll play cards on the side while you get your license and get your feet wet. And then I'll follow shortly after. So, that lasted for maybe 6 to 8 months or so. And then I remember our first escrow that closed. We were struggling. Cards weren't panning out too well, and we were driving across the Bay Bridge, and our first deal finally closed. And I remember playing Rich Homie Quan lifestyle across the bridge, and I realized that our life was never going to be the same after that. And
Wow.
it's been a memorable experience ever since. That was what, 9 years ago? Yeah, we got married, and then a year after that is when we got into real estate.
Okay, so 9 years in the industry, and we'll come back to it. But for those who aren't familiar, top agents, forced to reckon with, right? So Wilhelms, you two are very well known, very successful. So with that being said, what does the business now look like? Do you have a team? Is it just you two? Do you have support staff? What are the breakdown?
So we've had this like ebb and flow over the years. It was just the two of us doing everything, going to every appointment, going to every
Together.
together. I remember our first client we worked with, Rish. It was both of us. We had like a truly a lead. It was like a $300,000 condo, and we were like trying to find this guy a house, and it was both of us in the same swim lane. And over the years, we realized that we needed to expand and get into our own lanes and find out our strengths. So we've grown a team to as big as 8. We've scaled back over the years, and so now we have a team of 4.
Okay, and then what are the different roles that everybody is playing?
You want to answer that question?
Sure, I'll speak for myself.
Speak for your swim lane. What is your swim lane look like?
What is my stroke? Am I doing backstroke,
Yeah.
freestyle? Marketing. So fun fact, my background is in marketing. So I got my master's in integrated marketing communication with a concentration on PR. When we were doing our tech careers, like I said, was a VP for a startup. And so what was great about that is a lot of the things that I learned in that startup, I'm able to apply to our real estate business. So
Yes.
I work on things like automation, how to deliver a 4-star experience like the Four Seasons or the St. Regis, really honing in on what that experience looks like so that you can get referrals, so that people know what to expect when they're referring a client, because I think a lot of times that gets lost in just doing the transaction. So actually what that process looks like. I also assist in what managing the different people on our team look like, what tasks should they have, job descriptions,
Mhm.
and then the back end things like payroll, making sure we have benefits, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and then we have a transaction coordinator handles all the documents, paperwork, DocuSign, things of that nature. We have our virtual assistant who handles our calendar, email flow, and then for me, I'm just the face-to-face interactions, getting people keys, meeting with vendors, so on and so forth, and just kind of overseeing the transaction process, but everything on the sales side. So I'll handle the first calls. Again, it used to be Nicole and I doing everything, and then we realized that with the kids and scheduling and everything that's happening in our life, we need to definitely delegate
Yeah,
and stay in our own lane. So
love
that's
that.
pretty much how our breakdown is for the team at the moment. But I know that we're looking to expand in the very near future.
Love that. Well, speaking of expansion, one of the coolest facts is that you two are some of the founding agents for Compass in the Bay Area. I'd love for you to tell that story, because when I joined Compass as an agent in 2017, it was the small mighty, Robert was coming out, pretty much every week, right? So it was such a small, close group, but I mean, you two helped truly build Compass from the ground up out there. So please share a little bit about what that was like for you.
What month did you join Compass when you
I
were?
was December 2017. In fact, my first day
Okay, so
onboarding was the day of the holiday party, San Francisco holiday party. So they
Okay.
were basically like, welcome to Compass. And then I got
yeah,
there, and
yeah.
then everybody knew each other, and they're like, here's Robert Refkin. And I was like, oh my God, it was just mind blown by the whole thing.
So
So
so we joined June that year. So we were about like 5, 6
Yeah.
months before you did. So yeah, when we joined, um, you know, we were the one team in the East Bay, and I remember the first sales meeting we walked into
In San
in San
Francisco.
Francisco. Everyone's like, "We finally have somebody in the East Bay," and we thought we were top dogs where we came from. Coming from Sotheby's and taking the red pill and say, you know what, I want to change and let's go ahead and try this Compass thing out. And then we see people talking about their listings. $2 million, $3 million, $5 million.
And this, granted, was in 2017.
These were big
Yeah.
listings. And I remember this gentleman comes from the balcony and says, I have a new listing coming up. It's $25 million. And, Neil, shout out to Neil Ward. And he just
Right.
inspired me ever since. I realized that we were small fish in a gigantic pond. And it was something that we're really excited about. The challenge for us was talking about a new company that had all this technology that didn't work in the East Bay yet. So had to sell this dream to our clients of how amazing Compass was and all the things it can do. It's not here yet. So just be patient with us. We're still, figuring the things out, but luckily the clients that we had didn't care too much about the brand. They were working with us, and they liked what we had to offer and how we presented ourselves. So it was a challenge at first, but just kind of going through the trials and tribulations of the tech working and then not working, and being part of that, feedback crew was definitely something that was very humbling.
Yeah, I remember having such easy access to the engineers. We would like write in and be like, yeah, so this search function, we don't live in New York.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
it would be things like, you thought you set somebody up on collections and it didn't work. And you're like, so you weren't getting any listings for a while, and we can laugh about it now, but I feel so blessed to be a part of those first couple of days and months that Compass was building, because to see where it is now to where it was then, you couldn't have told us it was going to be this big, that we would go public, that we would be #1 in the nation, that would be where we are. And so I feel very thankful for the experience and the ride we've been able to go on, for the people that we've met, both clients and real estate agents that have become friends and family. So beautiful ride.
To piggyback on that, I remember joining and then basically saying like, we don't really have any tech. We don't even really have any management, but we have each other. We have each other, right? We've got a small group of some of the heaviest hitters in the city. Certainly a feeling of imposter syndrome. I mean, I was doing very
Yes.
well. But yes, when, shout out to Neil, but when you've got, some of the top agents in the country who are talking about their 25, $35 million listings, you're humbled quite quickly in terms of like, wow, I hope to do my little, I hope to get that $3 million listing. I'm really, really, really hoping to get it. But it was this feeling of culture and collaboration, because I remember it even now. So that was what, 7 years ago. So many brokerages, Compass is going to fail, right? And when you take a look at the different brokerages that are out there, I mean, no matter what, to be a real estate professional, you're one of the hardest working people in the industry, period.
Oh my goodness.
And some, a little bit different than others. But when you take a look at the ride, as you said, and how things have evolved, just even for the entire industry, it's really incredible to just watch where things have gone. Having a technology platform that has AI built into it, most likely to sell some of these other things. It's fascinating, because I remember back when Robert would say to us, yeah, what do you want? Like, what do you want it to look like? And so for all of us to give that feedback to build what is there now, it's really incredible to actually see. But one thing I want to ask you too about, you're very well connected within Compass. I'd love for you to talk a little bit about some of the different groups you're a part of, network group, obviously, but you are very well known. Even some of the branding materials for the national element, you are a part of. So can you please speak to that?
Yeah. So I mean, we were fortunate enough to be chosen on one of Compass's national ad campaigns, and they brought this camera. They're like, "Oh, we're bringing a camera crew over for 2 days shoot." I was like, "Okay, we've done some video and stuff before." 30 people show up at our house, and we're like, "What is going on here?" And they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna do some filming for the next 2 days." And I was like, "Okay, wow." So we were very fortunate enough to be chosen to do that, and It's, we've leveraged that marketing just to meet agents across the country. They've used it for agent recruitment. So when we go to retreats, agents are like, "Oh, I saw you in the video," and it's nice to just be able to connect and meet people that way. But some of the groups that we're a part of that we've met from agents over the years is one of them is the network group, and we understood several years ago, Compass was starting to expand. They were, acquiring new brokerages and, from this 4,000 across, nationwide company to, over 30,000 now. We saw this trajectory happening. And to differentiate ourselves, we realized that we wanted to find a way that agents could find us across the country, and other founding agents and teams that we met in other regions. So we have somebody in San Francisco, somebody in Carmel, somebody in Lake Tahoe, Marin, Sonoma. We all got together and formed a team together. So it's called the Network Group.
You've probably been to some of the
You've
parties.
probably been to some of the epic events at the retreats.
I see names on here. There's definitely some that have been to some of the
Yeah. Blink twice if you've been
Send a
there.
thumbs up if you've been one of the network group events. So if you've been to a retreat, we pretty much started those events. So now, like, agents are trying to compete for everyone to come to their event. We started some of those events back in the day. So it was really nice to have agents and connect with them that way. But that's one of the main groups that we're in. It's
Coast to coast.
Coast to Coast is another amazing group from agents, from literally coast to coast. Black at Compass, we helped found several years ago. We realized, in 2019 or I think it was 2018, 2019. We looked at our region, and I literally counted every single agent that was on the roster.
And some of them might not have been Black, but he was
and-
like, he squinted and he was like, maybe.
and there was 3,800 agents in Northern California that were a part of Compass, and less than 1% of that was an agent of color. And I said, he was like, we need to have more of a footprint here. And so Robert came to our first meeting and helped found 8 Black at Compass. So we're different. We have several different groups that we're part of, and we send business to one another. We collaborate, and it's an amazing journey to be on with these people.
Yeah. And I always like to explain the how of things, because if you might be listening to this and you're like, okay, but how do you do those things? Or what was the intent behind it? So we believe that instead of having an attention deficit, most people have an intention deficit. So they don't set intentions when they do things. So when we started the network group, our intention was, we saw migration patterns, and we saw that people started in San Francisco, but then they went to Oakland or Marin or the Peninsula or Lake Tahoe. So we met with other agents that we felt like their business styles were very similar to ours, family focused. They understood luxury real estate. And so we formed that group with them. Then we thought, okay, we need to go to Mike's point about nationwide. What other agents throughout the nation are feeder markets to our market? Either we feed them business, they feed us business, or vice versa. And then partnered up with them. I think if you don't have groups that you're connected with now, you're definitely leaving money on the table, because those groups, I would say, and all the time that we were with Compass, they just asked us the other day, like, how much of our business is referral. I think we gave at least $500,000 from the time that we started Compass to now in referrals.
Wow.
So that just goes to show, like, it's your network is your net worth. And I know that's said very often, but there is value or dollars in it, if you'd like to look at it that way. That's why it makes sense.
Yeah, if anybody on the call is not a part of a group, I would say start reaching out and join some. And if you don't find one that you like, start your own. There are people that are looking for what you have to offer, or what they're looking to connect. And so if there's a group, I don't know if it's, pickleball enthusiasts. I don't know.
I think that's already a thing.
Is it already a thing?
Yeah,
We
for
just
sure.
learned how to play pickleball like a couple weeks ago, like our first time. So I'm starting to get into it. But if there's a group that you'd like to start, start it, because if you make yourself more findable, you will attract more people that way.
Well, you're really hitting on the head from where I sit, which is make yourself visible. But at the same time, so you're talking about these different groups, right? One thing about the network group is these are some of the top agents in the Bay Area, Northern California, right? So when you take a look at that, then you look at coast to coast, And, you have different folks that come into groups for different reasons. Um, when you're working with different folks from different groups, are you seeing any similarities in terms of collaboration? Are you finding, for some of the larger groups, there's going to be multiple agents in one area, right? So let's just say that if you're a part of this group, that group, there's going to be 5 or 10, which I always think is a great idea because, again, the best referral is the best fit for the client, not one agent who's like, this is my
Yeah.
territory and I must handle all business. It's like, but what if the client doesn't like you, and then
Right.
what? So it's, so can you speak to some of the different collaboration that you see, some of the different types of agents, right? So like you say, go out, start something of your own, but can you just kind of break that down a little bit more?
Mm. Yeah, I would say first off, knowing who your target market is or your avatar, like what type of clients do you like working with?
Mhm.
Because most of the time, the agent is very similar to the client that is sent. Like Mike and I were joking about this yesterday. You've sent us some amazing clients in the past, and we go, it's because you're so amazing, right? And so it's reflected in the person that's referring them. So I would say if you're going to start that group, know what type of client that you want and just
Yeah.
don't say I want to take everybody or anything. That's how you burn out, and that's also how you're not living your life by design. To your question, I would say it's really being a person of value, right? Treating your like referring agents as if they're clients. And if you treat it that way too, then you're building not only value for yourself, but also the other person, and collaborating in a way that you could be paid for the things that you're providing, right? The knowledge that you're giving to the other agent, you could be getting paid for it, but instead you give it with nothing, just to say, look, if it comes back, great, and if it doesn't, whatever, but at least it's out in the universe and your life is better because of it. I think as long as you have that mentality or philosophy, then it's only a matter of time for the universe to show reciprocity.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. You you attract the people that who you are, and it's like it's so, people say, birds of a feather flock together. It's the same with clients, the same with agents. Not all agents are a good fit for you. And so if you meet these agents at different events or get introduced to them in different ways, just get to know them first, because they're going to attract more clients like them. And if you guys don't resonate, you guys aren't on the same frequency, the
Mhm.
clients that they refer to you are going to also not resonate. And it's going to be, you're going to be having to force the situation rather than it just being fluid. And it's like, wow, like I want you to send me all your people. So Mark, I want you to send me all your people that you know in San Francisco. Continue to send them, please.
Which is, it's so unfortunate to actually see. So, I see some of the names on this call that I know have been, doing this twice as long. So for me, in the industry, 22 years, coming up on 23. Um, what I would say is that every time you say yes to something, you say no to something else. Every time you say no to
100%.
something, you say yes to something else. Not all business is good business. And
Mhm.
and I wish that, when I was 18, actually 17 when I started, 18 when I got licensed, and I was told integrity is everything to have a long storied career. If you don't know the answer to a question, say, I don't know.
Mhm.
What I was not told at 18, which I wish I had been told, and what I hope everybody on this call understands, is not all business is good business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's been so many times where I either myself have been involved or when I was managing or in leadership or coaching that I've worked with agents and watched where they're so burnt out and frazzled from a client that is just not a good fit for them. Maybe not a good fit for anybody, right? There's some really
Yeah.
real doozies in the world. It's just the nature of people. But the problem is they're elf clients. They're easy, lucrative, fun clients. One of the mainstays of how I try to coach folks. Their elf clients suffer because they're so unhappy, frazzled, time and energy is being spent on that one client they had no business working with. So you
Mhm.
go in for a listing presentation, and this person is very unrealistic about the price. And if you take that listing, you're signing up for an unrealistic expectation. And then every day they're going to say, why isn't it selling? Why isn't it selling? Why isn't it selling?
Mhm.
And you need to be very careful about that, right? So when you take a look at it, when you refer business out, who is somebody going to get along with? And when I was, when I was managing for South Bay, LA, if requests come in for the referral partner overall, you have to take a look at who's going to be the best fit for it.
Mhm.
You two are so awesome. You've always gotten along with every referral that I've sent you. You know what I mean? But it's also you're experts in the neighborhood. You know what I mean? All the different neighborhoods. And if not, you're going to say, hey, let's go learn a little bit more. Right. And that goes back to the integrity piece of it. So
Mhm.
it's just there's that element of quality, right? Having these quality referral partners that you can reach out to and then say, but wait a minute, I actually have multiple. Because to your point, are you going to drive over to San Francisco? Are you going to drive over to Marin? Are you going to go down into, Palo Alto, Atherton, or are you going to have one of your other partners over there take care of it for you, and then collaborate back and forth,
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
I can tell you just a quick story. We learned the hard way, and I think sometimes we have to, as agents, we have to fail forward in order to learn. And as you continue, if you keep making that same mistake and keep taking on those clients, that's how you burn out of the industry, and that's how you say, I don't want to do this anymore because everybody treats me poorly. And it's like, no, you're just choosing the wrong clients. How we learned was we had this one amazing listing get come to us. And I remember we met with the seller and Nicole said, you know what, I don't want to work with this guy. And for whatever it was for me, I was like, this is amazing
Challenge
property.
accepted.
I said, challenge accepted. I can do it. I can do it.
Ah.
And we were partnering with another agent, and it was one of the most challenging, time sucking, energy draining like escrows I've ever had to go through. And I learned through that process. I definitely grew through the process, and it eventually closed. But after that moment, I said, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. Like if we don't feel the vibe, if we're not on the same frequency, then we're not going to take that listing, or we're not going to work with that client.
Protect your mental real estate. Set boundaries.
Can I snap your mental real estate? Yes,
Yes.
it's so important to understand the value of your own mental real estate, because other people will devalue it if you let them.
Well, because they only go by the value you put on it. So then they go, oh, you don't have boundaries? Oh, okay, tip, tip, tap, tap, to tap, 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 all over.
We teach what we allow.
Yes.
Right. And so when I was working with clients, if I answer the phone at 11:30 at night, it's a good chance the next night they're going to call me at 11:30, right? So you
Mhm.
teach
Right.
what you allow. So when you set those boundaries up front, expectations, communication, that's going to be everything.
Mm.
And let me just say this. When I was managing, one thing that I observed a lot of, well, not a lot, but when you see lawsuits happen, right? Now, anybody can sue anybody for anything,
Mhm.
unfortunately. Every single agent on this call, you two, every time you represent somebody with your license, that is a very serious thing to happen. That's the fiduciary duty, but that means that somebody could, if they want, file a lawsuit for any reason. And I've watched agents, great agents who did nothing wrong, have to go through a process with depositions and providing files and a 2-year lengthy time consuming process
Mm.
Mhm.
because they did business with somebody. And then ultimately, in the end, most would say to me, deep down, I knew I never really should have
Mhm.
worked with them.
Right.
There was something about it that just didn't feel right. The way, even in a buyer consultation, the listing appointment, something seemed off, but, right, keyword, but
Mhm.
I really wanted to try to get that deal, boost my numbers, get the commission check. And then again, it goes back to not all business is good business, right? Because the time that was spent in the depositions and everything else eats up all that time. Let me ask you too, without naming names, have there been any negative referral situations that you could speak to, or at least share a little bit of context on?
Yeah, I mean that I'm still traumatized from that one escrow that we closed. It was um we were referred, an agent referred another agent, and it was to partner with him to work with his client. You know, he does real estate part-time, and he was looking for an agent in the East Bay. And, you know, I decided, you know what, I can manage the expectations of both parties, and, you know, of the agent and the seller. And, you know, we would collaborate and we work together to make this thing happen. And again, you birds of a feather flock together. So the type of agent this was is the same type of client that he brought to the table. And the reason why Nicole said, you know what, I'm going to step out, I don't think that we should work this, is because she's really good at feeling people's energy. And, you know, everything is energy. And so she was like, you know what, we're not resonating. I don't want to take this on. For whatever I must have been on another level and said, you know what, I can do this. We can make this happen. Even though I felt a little off, I said, you know what, it's not that bad. Like, we can, you know, they seem really nice.
And then if you're wondering what those signs are, what to look for, if you haven't experienced it yet, or maybe you're reflecting back on previous experiences and you're like, what exactly is it? It could be personality, right? So every time you say something, they could come back and want the opposite, or always say something negative, and you're like, like that took a turn to the left, right? It could be that their expectations are something that, to your point, no one can achieve, right? And you also have to look at yourself and say, like, okay, what is it about me that I feel like I have to achieve it, right? Like, what do I have to prove? True freedom, one of the ways that you know you're truly free is when you feel like you don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. And so it's really asking yourself that. And it's hard, right? Especially since you don't know where your next deal is going to come from most of the time, right? And you might need the money, or you might feel like this could be a sale that puts me in a whole different trajectory in real estate. But if you ask yourself those questions first, right? Is it a good personality fit? Can I meet their expectations? Do I feel like I have something to prove? And you just go through a checklist. It makes it easier to say yes or no, right? That gut feeling now isn't just a feeling that you feel inside. Now it's literally a checklist that you're going through, and you're like, yes or no, does this work? So I encourage all of you, if you don't already, if you have a mental checklist, great. If you have a physical one, even better, just so you can avoid those type of interactions that would cause you either days, months, years of potential business.
If anyone's listening on the call, send a skull and crossbones emoji. If you've worked with a client that you knew you shouldn't have worked with, and yeah, just because I know that if you haven't yet, it's something that, you know, we all go through as agents at one point or another, because you realize that it happens. Like, it's one of those things that you learn along the way. And, you know, we have a few scars to tell about it, but once you get through that process, you will realize that you want to work with people that want to work with you, and that are on the same frequency as you. Because again, everything is energy, and when you find people that are on the same level as you, the same frequency, it makes things so much easier, and you actually enjoy the job. You actually enjoy the process.
Think about it like dating. You know?
All I know is, yeah, what I'm hearing here is that Nicole's the wise whisperer who's like, we shouldn't do this. Michael's challenging. This is why women live longer than men. I just want to point that one out real fast. But I will tell you that, you know, I always look at it from a place of, can I actually help this person or not? Right. So I was told by a mentor almost 20 years ago, every client you work with protects them from a bad experience. Because I'm introverted by nature, right? And so I was told, hey, look at it this way. You want to help as many people as possible. So every one of those clients that you do work with, you're not being a pain in the ass. You're actually protecting them from an agent who's not thinking about them, putting them first. But you can only help people who really want to be helped. And so when I've been in some of these listing presentations, there was one that stands out in San Francisco it was by the ballpark. And it was a referral from a top agent, Compass colleague out of New York. Now, obviously, when you get a referral from a colleague, especially, you know, heavy hitter, you want to protect this referral. You want to protect the relationship. You want to show up to your best. And I was told that it was a $3 million condo. I said, no problem. Now, I started looking at the comps, and immediately I'm like, I had to recheck the address, because I was like, okay, now that's like a real strange number to throw out based on this address. And I took a look at it, I mean, 2 million on its best day in a top market if we're lucky.
Mm,
And, spoke with the seller. And of course, I was met immediately with this like posturing, ego, and the key phrase, I've sold and bought real estate. I invest all the time. Like
mhm,
this whole like,
mhm,
by the way,
mhm.
I'm gonna do your job for you, just so you
Right.
know, before we even start talking about this, like expect that, right? I was like, here we go. And so I just went through the numbers, and what I found is, for anybody who's not familiar with San Francisco, there's some high-rise, newer construction condos, right? Where you're talking panoramic 360 view of the San Francisco Bay Area. I mean, pristine, beautiful. This was a fourth story, super dark condo, no view, or you know what I mean? Like I
Right.
walked in and immediately I was just like, Houston, we have a problem because it's just
Yeah.
like this is not going to add up. And what I had found was this particular seller took it upon himself to try to go in and calculate the price per square foot of condos in downtown San Francisco, the
Mhm.
Soma area, but it was apples and oranges.
Right.
And so in the conversation, I presented the comps to just say, like, this is the math that I actually see. And before I went, I reached out to my referral partner. And I said, look, here's the CMA. This is the comps that I'm looking at. I said, where did you hear 3 million?
Mhm.
My seller did some math themselves. Of
Mm,
course, they're
mhm,
saying, I said, look, I'm gonna go have this conversation. In this industry, my job is to be honest with all parties involved.
mhm,
I don't buy listings. And when I sat and I talked with the seller, I was just very clear to say, this is the math as I see it. These are some of the strategies we could try to deploy in terms of getting highest and best price on this. But if you don't need to sell, maybe better to wait. Maybe the market's going to do some other things down the road. But very realistically, this is, and so, you know, I did not buy that listing, which means just say yes in order to put my sign outside.
Mhm.
right.
But I did watch another agent sit on that for over 12 months with price reduction
Ooh,
after price reduction, trying to do open houses and
ooh,
all that. And for all of us, if you're in this industry, obviously it is a success-based compensation model of the property has to sell or be purchased and closed in order to be compensated. How much money would I have lost in those 12 months holding on to this listing? What business do I think I could have generated off of the 12 months in that area to try to recoup what I was putting into it? And I've seen so many because of that referral partnership would say, like, I have to do it, I have to take it. But the referral
mm,
partner completely understood, and I was honest and transparent. And I think that's the biggest part when we talk about some of these different referral relationships is you have to be honest with your referral partners when it comes in to say, this
Mhm.
is what I'm seeing on the ground as the expert, right?
mhm.
I want to ask you both. Well, first off, as parents and rock star agents, founding, Compass, all the things, um, how the hell do you do it? How do you do all the things and
Oh,
stay at the top and stay sane and make time to come here and share your insights with everybody on the call? Silence. Look at that.
You want to start?
oh no,
Sure.
because I was like, oh, he wants
Okay.
to see behind
He wants
Disneyland.
to see behind the curtain.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I believe it's Jim Rohn who said, "Be, do, have." Right. So we understand that we have to first become. We have to
Mm,
become all the things that we want to become in order to have to do and have all the things that we want. Um, what I mean by that is in order to become the person, I know I have to read books, right?
mm,
Because I have to constantly be educating. So every day I wake up between 5 and 6 o'clock. I work out for about an hour so that I can listen to those books, right? I can't read them anymore because the day is full. I created what I like to call like a home maintenance program, right? Home meaning the home that I have within. And so I have like a little checklist in my mind. Those of you who are Virgo, you understand. I'm just like, okay, this is all the things I need to do so I can get my home right before I invite all these other people to come in, before I invite Mike to come into my mental space, before I have my kids, before any my clients, anything else. So I make sure that I get right first. I
Yeah.
also know that Mike is my first, client. Again, I treat my relationships like they're my clients and I go, okay, how do I be of service in our relationship? How
mm,
do I be of service in our business? But again, it first starts with you. And then I'm just really intentional. I say that a lot, but it's true. Like, what is my intent with all the things that I do in life, right? Like, what was my intent in this business? And we knew it was so that we could provide a lifestyle for our kids and our kids' kids and for our clients and their kids or whoever they want to pass down real estate to. We wanted to help them build wealth through real estate, but also enjoy each other while they're doing it. Because what I've seen in just the real estate world is how many people get divorces, right? And everything you did it for, right? You got to the top, you did all the things, and then maybe you let your weight suffer, maybe you let your relationship suffer. And so because we set these intentions for each aspect of our life, we know that we can measure it, right? And say, okay, how much time am I spending here? How am I doing this? It's not easy. I'm just going to be completely transparent with you. For those of you who are parents on the call, blink your eyes. You know, there's days where your kids like, I had a horrible day. Like my daughter, I had a horrible day at camp. I didn't make any friends. I did rock climbing, but I only made it to so far. And you're like, what? Like you have a great life. And then you have to take a step back and be like, okay, if I was, being of service to you, I would ask you certain questions to help you unpack all the things that happened so that the next day you can have a better day. But I would say you can't do that unless you're right within, unless you spent the time on you so that you can have the bandwidth, the mental, whatever you want to call it, to be of service. So I say all that to say self-care is something that is underrated, that people think is selfish. I think it is imperative. It's like doing the maintenance on your home before you list your house. You should be doing those upgrades and the maintenance throughout, not just when you think you're going to sell, so you can enjoy the time and space you have in your home before you go to sell, or however analogy you want to put toward that.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, 2021, we had our real estate business was up and down. We had those big days or big months and, slow months and things of that nature. And we really trying to figure out, what's going on with our business. In 2021, I know a lot of agents had some of their best years. We had an incredible year as well. We had an incredible year and we traveled the most at the same time. It was amazing during that time. But at the end of the year, I was unhappy. I was depressed. I was depleted, and I was trying to figure out what was going on. And so I had to do some soul searching. So, I went on this, spiritual, call it a spiritual journey, in Costa Rica. We're friends. We're friends here, Mark. I could share with you. So I went on this ayahuasca journey, and it was a really profound experience for me, being able to look at myself from a different perspective and just looking at my life. And I realized that, um, our life happens in seasons. Sometimes we want things to happen right now, but it's not that season. We're in the winter months right now, and the universe or God or whatever it is you believe in has put you there to be able to, understand where you are at the moment. And there's one of the principles: you reap what you sow. And so if you want, spring to happen, you have to go through the winter season first. And so, when you are in winter, you need to be planting your seeds. You need to be, making your phone calls, connecting with people. Right now, it's a relatively slow time in the market. Start connecting with people, because these are what you're sowing. And what's going to happen is the fall, when rates get cut, when the seasons change, your phone's going to be ringing, and all those seeds that you planted in that time period are going to pay off, tremendously. And so it's one of those things that, Nicole had mentioned, self-care is something that's super important. You need to be able to clear your mental space, so that way you can make room for all the good that's going to happen in your life, for all the good that's already there. You just might not be able to see it. So I
What
would say,
do eye doctors call it?
you have a scotoma. So you have a scotoma, a blind spot. Sometimes I was really good at looking at all the things that were missing. And what was happening, it didn't matter what was happening in my life, I would always find the holes. And I realized that if you can just shift your focus, if you can see what's already there, you realize all the abundance and all the things you can be grateful for now. And so, one advice I would give to anybody is just start to look at the good that's in your life. Instead of looking at the problem to every solution, look at the solution to every problem.
And then that's how you can do all the things and have all the things, because you see that you already have it.
The secret to having it all is knowing you already do. Right. And and it's the kind of thing that I think we all struggle with as people overall. But you bring up some just really good points on that seasonality for all of us, because so we were all agents there in San Francisco Bay Area, right? But think about where 2017, think how much has changed for the people involved, the businesses involved, everybody involved, right? And then, for myself managing, we had a pandemic, right? And what a dark time. Think all of us, we were Lysol on groceries, right? We were all,
Right.
you can't go to the beach. Like, I mean, wow.
Right.
And it was so different. And then I was, doing all this coaching, all this other stuff. Even now, the real estate referral, I've had so many people say to me, well, Mark, what is this thing? And I said, I have a company, the real estate referral, third party company. I said, but I've been with Compass for 7 years and all these different things, whatever else. I said, so why not just at zero cost, make a bunch of introductions to as many agents as possible using maybe you do 50 million a year in sales, you do 50 million in sales. Maybe you speak Russian, maybe, whatever it is, because I know for a fact, your point, planting a seed.
Mm.
And it's a gift that already I was contacted on a $10 million referral. I'm not getting paid for this. There's no money involved, but I know that if we plant seeds with people, guess what? Water those seeds. And I've had some people say, well, I don't have time to get on a call and talk to somebody. You're in the wrong industry.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like 30 minutes of your time to build a relationship. The fact that we've stayed in touch and been friends for 7 years, all these different maneuvers, all these different seasons. And I see some names on the call, same thing, where maybe it was years ago, maybe we've worked together in different capacities, but I just always stop and think to myself, always have the conversation. And if you like somebody, stay in touch. You don't have to become their best friend, but check in, say hello, whatever it is, and you never know how things are going to work out. So now I have a question for both of you. When we talk about referrals, we talk about agent referrals, we talk about client referrals, we talk about vendor referrals. What do you feel like is the most important to your business, or is it all of them?
For us, I would say the most important, I mean, they're all important, but if we had to prioritize them, I would say agent referrals and past client referrals are two, are two spokes that we get the best quality leads, and the majority. We've planted a lot of seeds with agents and just met agents through different events, and we go to San Francisco to go to some of the meetings there, just to show our face and connect with agents that we've built relationships over the years. And then just past clients, not, sometimes we've had clients and they've kind of fallen off. We had a transaction, it worked, and we didn't maintain the relationship afterwards because we just went our different ways. But there are those clients too that we want to be a part of their lives. On Wednesday, I'm going to go to a good friend of ours. We've done a couple transactions so far already, and we're going to go watch the NBA finals. And it's like, hey, I just texted him. I said, hey, I miss you guys. When are we coming over to watch the game? And he's like, Wednesday or Friday. I said, let's do Friday. And it's just planting those seeds. One of our mentors told us, to build a relationship, it's small interactions over time. And so it's just making those small interactions that, they've sent us, they've introduced us to some of their friends. We've done multiple transactions with them. And we find those, our VIP clients is what we like to call them. These are people that we invest in emotionally. We visit them. If they move out of the area, we're going to be visiting some of our friends in Hawaii next year, or next month, I should say. And we've done 4 transactions with them, and they've introduced us to several people, and so we just continuing to build upon those relationships. And some people have, a lot of agents have these huge databases. They have 10,000 people, 20,000 people. And, my thought process is it's fantastic to have all those names, but how many actual relationships do you have in those 10,000? We try to narrow ours down to, 100 to maybe 400 people that we actually call, we spend time with, we visit.
We know their kids' names.
We know their kids' names, and if you do the math, on any given year, 15% or so of your database is going to move, or is going to buy a place or sell the property. And if out of 400 people you can stay in contact with, that's 60 transactions. So if you think about 400 people in your database, 60 of them, or there's gonna be 60 transactions that are gonna happen in that database. And so if you can think about who are those relationships I'm gonna be in contact with, it's super important. They're gonna move anyway, so it might as well
Might as well.
you help them out in that process. And so that's why relationships are so important. That's why we're in the relationship business, and we're in the people business, not so much real estate.
We just so happen to sell real
We
estate.
so happen to sell real estate, yeah.
Well, and look, even staying top of mind, those small interactions, it
Mhm.
stays top of mind. How many of, and I know probably everybody on the call, you have a friend who used either a different agent or a past client or somebody that in your periphery was talking and mentioned a deal that didn't involve you,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you're just almost like arrow to the heart. But
Mhm.
one of the first things that I always ask is, well, when's the last time you had contact with them?
Right.
Right.
Because, hey, we all have busy lives. And so you want to be top of mind, not in the obnoxious, like, hey, do you know anybody who wants to buy and sell? Hey, do you know, it's like, absolutely don't do that. But
Right.
how are you?
Right.
How are your kids? How's work going? Do you want to get coffee? Do you want to go get a drink? Do you want to go get dinner? Whatever it might be, to have a real relationship. Because then when somebody is saying to them, oh, I'm thinking of buying and selling a home, they're going to say, oh, you know what? I just saw Michael and Nicole. You know what? You got to go check them out. Nicole is going to be right. Michael's going to be wrong. But guess what? Just lean in a little bit more on Nicole's side. Everything's going to be great. Sorry, Michael, I had to. But
It's okay. No.
hey, I know, like we already discussed, she's going to live longer. It's just the way of the world.
It's okay.
But
He's working on that relationship.
I'm still working.
okay, so with that, you stay in touch. And when we think about the agent to agent, you're a part of a lot of different groups. Is there anything else that you do that stands out? Not the what, but the how. You can share with everybody on this call from the agent to agent perspective in terms of maintaining, building, nurturing those referral relationships that you have.
Um, as Nicole mentioned earlier, it starts with you. So, Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job or your business. And it's about showing up to be the best version of yourself, because again, you will, I'm so, I truly believe that everything is energy. So if you can find a way to raise your vibration, raise your energy, you will attract more people, or the type of people that you want into your life. And so when you show up to meet these people, if you show up with low energy and you meet an agent, it's like, or you see an agent from before, it's like, what's the matter? Like, what's wrong? Like you're either draining energy out of the room or you're adding energy to the room. And so I think, starting with yourself, for me to wake up and get my energy right, I do a polar plunge every single day. Like even the days I don't want to do it, I turn it, it's set to 40. After talking to you, Mark, so it used to be at 38 and I was like, man, why am I doing this to myself? Let me turn up the heat. So I turned it to 41. So it's at 41 degrees now. So now I'm sitting in there a
There
little
we
bit
go.
longer, but it helps to just get my mind right and just get me focused and being able to show up to be my best self, each day. And so that way I can make space for people, have the emotional capacity that my family needs, and my clients and my referral partners and everybody that's in my life, everyone's around me.
Yeah. And then for the how, so when we go to retreats, it's not necessarily about all the business cards, right? It used to be that way for us, where we'd be like, look at our stack of business cards, like all the people that we met. And then
Right.
you'd look and be like,
Yeah,
who
who's
is
John?
this
Yeah.
person?
Yeah.
Did I meet them when I was
Yeah.
standing on the stage dancing? Did I meet them at the yoga retreat? And so now we are hyper focused on connecting with the people that we met in previous retreats, right? And so we'll go to dinners, we'll plan things outside of just the normal Compass events, right? So it's a dinner so we can have a one-on-one and say, how's your business going? Really connecting with that person versus going we go depth, right? I have like a standing meeting with Mama Ruth, Robert's mom, because in the beginning we had a client who would do he was in foster care and he never owned a home, right? So he was in and out of like 18 to 19 homes growing up. And I remember the call we gave him when he first got keys to his new home. And he's like, oh my gosh, he started crying. We told Robert, hey, this is the reason why you made Compass, right? Because so you can help this person find his place to call home. And so I sent that video to Robert. Robert sent it to his mom, and she was like, this is why my son created this company. And then from then we've been like the best of friends. I ask her for advice for everything. And that's what I mean is find your people, find your group of people that you connect with. If you can add more at those retreats, amazing. But like, don't force it where you just want to get a stack of cards so you can flash it on Instagram to be like networking, you know what I mean? Because the whole point of this is to make lifelong friends that you could grow with. And then if you can share business, great. But real estate can be very lonely. So just being a sounding board for another agent could dramatically change your business as well as their business, because they might be doing things that you had never thought of before, or they may give you advice on what to tweak or change, which I know that there are other industries where they do it, you know, consistently, where they have masterminds. In real estate, it's something that I think we could do more of, as well as just making sure that you put them on the same type of drip campaign you put your clients on, right? Like call them on their birthdays. Just don't like show up to the retreat and be like, hey, where's the business for me? You know what I mean? Like have like Mike said, those micro interactions, and it will pay dividends.
And sometimes, you know, those, just because that agent might not send you a referral, that's okay, because they also might introduce you to 5 other agents that are looking for an agent in that area.
Right.
You know, that happens more often than people realize. You know, it's like I met this person at a retreat, or I met this person at an event, and they've never sent me anybody. But you don't know how many times that if someone's like, you know, I'm looking for someone in Oakland or San Francisco, you know, you should talk to is so and so,
Right.
and just make that connection. You know, it happens more often in our business than people realize, and that's how you will get more agent referrals, is by just connecting with agents that way, and building those relationships over time.
I'm going to share a micro moment involving you. So 2019, I was an agent in San Francisco, as you guys know, everything was well. And then I moved to Manhattan Beach to become the sales manager. It was August of 2019. My birthday is in September. So the next month I'm in the office, and no matter what, it's scary when you're in a new place. You don't really know anybody. You're taking on a new job, a lot of responsibility. And on my birthday, Mike sends me a video message wishing me happy birthday, saying that the world is a better place because I'm in it.
Mm.
I've never forgotten that. I still have that video. And those are nobody had ever done that, right? And see, here I am 5 years later, able to recall and talk about that little touch, that little detail that meant so much. Because I remember sitting in the office, and I felt uncomfortable, you know, new job, new place. I mean, all these top agents, you know, I was interviewed by the top 10 founding agents for Compass South Bay, LA, that had to approve me to be their sales manager coming down from San Francisco. Talk about pressure, right? And I was terrified sitting in that office. And then to get a message like that, it made me feel like I was back at home with you guys, with everybody up in San Francisco. But it was a little bit of comfort and familiarity that here I am 5 years later talking about. And that might have taken you 30 seconds to film, you know? And so I just wanted to kind of end on that note, which is those little moments of care, that little bit of extra. And to have you two, this wife, husband team, top agents, doing all the things that you do, being able to share insights with everybody else. I'm just grateful to know you both, to consider you friends, and to have an opportunity to get to share you with everybody else in the world, you know. And then we get to put this on YouTube, and anybody and everybody can go hear from you two. And I just want to say thank you both for being here today. I love you guys.
I appreciate you sharing that, Mark. And you know, you again, you know, we had these VIP lists, and you almost didn't make the cut, but you somehow slipped in there, and we were able to send you that video. So I'm glad that spoke to you.
I'm glad you got the envelope of cash, you know what I mean? Get me on the list.
Yeah, I'm just thankful that we did Compass Cares. Remember we did that volunteer event with Chef Tyler Florence, right? Yeah. And so
Absolutely.
we were able to connect over,
Chef for Feds.
yeah, that volunteer event. And so thank you for giving us a seat at the table. Thank you for allowing us to see your journey. We can't wait to see what will come of your company, just like how we saw with Compass, and we're like, whoa, look at it now.
Yeah.
Just remember us when you go public. That's all we got to say.
Will do. You'll be at the bell ringing. So I
Love
love
it.
you guys. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for joining us today. So take care, everyone.
Take care.